Hello, Packers fans and football fans in general. Another week of picks this week, week 14. Boy, last week wasn't the best week at all for me. Had a pretty good start to the week, but then it fell apart at the end. Lots of picks I got wrong that I probably shouldn't have, and things that I changed at the last second. But let's get into it. Lots of good games to pick this week, and lots of really, really terrible ones, to be honest. And that starts out with the first week, trying to get to 750 subs by the end of the year. So if you want to help me out and if you like the content here, make sure to subscribe and all of that. But let's get into the video with New England and Pittsburgh. Boy, what a game this will be. Another crap pile of a Thursday football game. Kenny Pickett not playing for the Steelers. We have Mitch Trubisky, and the Steelers going with Bailey Zappi again, I'm sure. And with Ramondre Stevenson unlikely to play, it is going to be a real interesting game. Well, to be honest, not very interesting at all. Neither of these teams can score. Both teams have good defenses. Maybe Ezekiel Elliott can really show up and play well for the Patriots, but maybe not. He looks to be the guy that everybody should pick up. Oh, pick him up in your fantasy league. He'll win you a championship. It's like, at times Ramondre Stevenson was behind the same line and had his good share of games, but also struggled at times. So who knows what you're going to get there. But I think the Steelers will win. It's in Pittsburgh. And sure, Mitchell Trubisky isn't that great of a quarterback. He's shown at least he can play a little bit better than Bailey Zappi. It seems to have a better connection with George Pickens, to be honest. I mean, George Pickens just hasn't done anything the past couple weeks. And if you're like me and have him on your fantasy team, you're just wondering, like, where is it going? But I think the Steelers ultimately win 17-10. It's going to be a relatively low-scoring game. And whoever wins the turnover battle will probably win this game. And I think the Steelers will do it in Pittsburgh. But you will not see me watching this game because it is going to be terrible. Another Thursday terrible game. Why? Can we just not have Thursday games, please? So teams can fully rest and recover. But no, that would lose money for the NFL. Next, Tampa Bay and Atlanta. Tampa Bay coming off the near was last week to Carolina. Atlanta winning against the Jets, but not looking very good doing so. Desmond Ridder is still a terrible quarterback. I still don't understand why the Falcons are going with him. Maybe just seeing if they can get a full round of tape from him, but man, he's dreadful. And the Tampa Bay, they played well last week for the most part, but they struggled at times with their defense. They gave up a big game to Chuba Hubbard. And yeah, the Tampa Bay's given up a couple games this year with big performances by opposing running backs. And maybe this means this week Bijan Robinson goes off again. After, I believe this was the game earlier where Bijan Robinson was mysteriously out, didn't play for most of the game, and left many people wondering, like, are the Falcons idiot? Is Bijan soft? Who knows? But it should be a relatively close game. These two teams always seem to play pretty tough. Last game was a turnover mess and lots of stopping in the red zone. So maybe Tampa Bay will be able to pull it off. It'd be nice. It would really help the Packers a lot if the Atlanta lost. Unfortunately, I'll probably go with Atlanta, but if Tampa Bay wins the game, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Atlanta wins 21-18. Don't know how they get to that score, but seems like a reasonable score for these two teams. Next, Los Angeles Rams versus the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens coming off a bye, and the Rams with a big win over the Cleveland Browns. Kieran Williams keeps adding to his touchdown total. Puka Nacua had a big touchdown and over 100 yards. Looked pretty good. Stafford looking like his old self. And you have Baltimore coming off a bye, but they've been pretty darn good this year. They're vying for the number one overall seed in the AFC, and they've looked pretty darn good doing it. At times they haven't. At times their offense has blundered and not been able to score like the Browns game, but I think they should be able to score in bunches this week. They should win pretty handily against the Rams. Maybe the Rams will keep it in it. I mean, I think they could be able to attack the Ravens secondary a good amount. If Stafford stays in there, finds Nacua, finds Cup, and keeps the ball rolling with Kieran Williams, there's a chance they could definitely win. However, I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens in this one. Ravens win 27-17. Rams will keep it relatively close, but I think Lamar Jackson and that high-powered offense will have a good day, and they will get another win and be back on top as the number one team in the AFC. Next, Detroit and Chicago. Probably another dreadful game, to be honest. Detroit should be able to score at will in this game, and the Bears, you never know what you're going to get. It always depends on how good Fields is. Their defense played pretty well 2 weeks ago against Minnesota, although then again the Vikings offense was dreadful in that game. Bears nearly beat the Lions a couple weeks ago, but it's just the building for a team like this that's growing, trying to learn, and they have a game like that a couple weeks ago with the Lions where they're leading most of the game and they just let it slip through their fingers. The Lions didn't play great last week at times, but they also played really well at times as well, beating up on the Saints team and putting them on the near outs of the playoff race entirely. I think the Lions will win this one pretty handily. Their offense should be able to go. Sam Laporta has been a beast all year long. Amon-Ra St. Brown. David Montgomery is a great running back. Jahmyr Gibbs is a good change-up back. And their defense, when they're able to get to the quarterback, are pretty fierce. Now, if they can't get to the quarterback, their secondary is not very good and is able to be attacked at will. But I think the Lions will be able to get to Justin Fields this week a little bit and knock him off his game. I think the Lions win 28-17. But maybe the Bears can actually do it this time and do what they did last week, but actually win the game. Next, Indianapolis versus Cincinnati. A surprising game now. Cincinnati coming off with a big win over Jacksonville last week, of course, under the shadow of the injury to Trevor Lawrence. Indy with the win over Tennessee, although at times they looked like they were surely going to lose because once again, Derrick Henry had his way with them for most of the day until mysteriously in the second half, he just stopped getting carries, even though he had a very good first half. I think Indy probably wins this one, but given how Cincinnati won last week in Jacksonville, maybe they can pull off another one. Browning, not the greatest quarterback in the world, but he's shown he can stand up in the pocket and make some throws. If you can keep the turnovers under wraps, find Jamar Chase because he catches everything that comes his way. He's just always open, it seems, and Joe Mixon is old reliable. Still have some players on that defense, so should be able to get into the backfield of the Colts and get after Gardner Minshew. Of course, the Colts won't have Jonathan Taylor again, so that sucks, but they're on the way to the playoffs. They're in the playoffs right now, and they deserve it. Colts are one of the least talked about teams in the NFL, and they should definitely get more attention in the future. Colts win 21-17. Should be a pretty close game. Maybe interception at the end. The Colts defense has been great. They've been giving them splash plays and keeping them in games a lot. Like last week, the Colts defense definitely kept them in the game and allowed them to have a chance to win in overtime. But like I said, Colts win 21-17. But if the Bengals win, I would not be shocked in the slightest. Jacksonville versus Cleveland. Of course, Trevor Lawrence may or may not play this week. Christian Kirk probably won't either. And Cleveland, again, going with Joe Flacco, who wasn't the worst last week, but he just looks so old and immovable again. Browns defense is still good, but it's just like their offense just kind of falters at time. Jerome Ford is a good running back at times, but he didn't play very well last week. The Rams were able to keep him under wraps. Other than that, a couple of receptions and a touchdown that he got. It just wasn't a very good game for Cleveland last week. Jacksonville either. Jacksonville's defense really gave up 500 yards of offense to a backup quarterback, so that's not good for anybody. I think Jacksonville wins, to be honest, but honestly, it depends on if Trevor Lawrence plays. Even if Lawrence plays, he'll probably be limited with the ankle injury. But if the Jaguars want to keep in the thick of things for the number one overall seed in the AFC, he's probably going to have to play if he's able to go. CJ Beathard filled in admirably last week, but to be honest, he still just didn't have enough. and the Bengals were able to win in the end. Like I said, depends on if Trevor Lawrence wins or plays or not, but Jacksonville, I think, will pull it out 17-14. Should be a pretty competitive game for most part. Yeah. One of the more interesting games of the week. Carolina and New Orleans. Saints with another loss last week. This time against the Lions. They've been losing a lot lately, falling out of the playoffs at a precipitous pace. Carolina nearly had the win last week against Tampa Bay. Chuba Hubbard had a great game. And I never know what I'm going to get with the Saints. Never know. I mean, their offense just struggles at times. And with Derek Carr getting plastered last week, who knows if he's even going to play? Probably see Jameis Winston this week. I don't know what's going to happen with the Chiefs, with the Saints. They don't look like they're on their way to the playoffs, even though their defense has played admirably at times, although also been torched as well. Alvin Kamara's had a pretty darn good year, and he's just old reliable. Olave has a good game, or has been having a lot of good games lately, but it's just their offense just sputters at times. And then their defense gives up a lot of points and gives up fast points. After all, they continue to give up fast points. And I think the Saints win, stop the losing streak, at least keep some hope of making the playoffs alive. But I think Carolina's going to give them a pretty decent game for the most part. New Orleans wins 24-21. If Carolina wins, I think that basically puts a nail in the season for the Saints, and it'll be near impossible for them to make it back into a chance for the playoffs. Next. Houston and the Jets. The Jets looked dreadful again, as expected. Houston didn't look that good at times. Their defense was great for most of the game and definitely won them the game. Darryl Stingley, Will Anderson is really coming on of late. And Stroud had a pretty good game for the most part, but struggled at times as well. Tanked out for the year. That's such a loss. I mean, why? You have a wide receiver of his stature blocking in the goal line. Doesn't make any sense. He just got rolled up on it. Just so painful. But they still have Nico Collins. They still have Noah Brown, who has had a few good games this year. Dameon Pierce seems to be taking on back the number one running back role of Devin Singletary. Just still not in the receiving end. Got a lot of goal line work. And their defense has been strong of late. They've been really coming on, really bringing it together. D'Amico Ryans is a great young coach, really showing his team how to win. And Houston's out of the playoff race right now, but should they keep winning, they should get into the playoffs for sure. I mean, they're a good young up-and-coming team. As long as CJ Stroud is healthy, this Texans team is going to be able to win. And even though the Jets defense has been pretty darn good this year, their offense is just so bad. It's just so hard to see them winning, especially against a team as high-powered as Houston. Yes, they played Atlanta last week, but Atlanta's not the best offense in the world, not by a long shot. So I think Houston wins 20-10 in this one. Houston should be able to put up a good amount of points, but I just think limited. It's outside in January or outside in December in New York, so maybe that gives the Jets a little bit of a defensive edge at times, but their offense just won't be able to compete with the Houston Texans. And it's just obvious. They're just not a good team. And Aaron Rodgers should not rush back anytime soon. There's nothing to come back to other than your own pride. Minnesota and Las Vegas. Both teams coming off a bye. Minnesota coming off a terrible performance the week before that against the Bears, losing on Monday Night Football. Dobbs had 4 interceptions, and there's really a question about whether he will be able to be the starting quarterback this week again. I have no idea who's going to be starting for the Vikings this week. The Bears looking not great as always. Their defense had a good game against Minnesota the week before, and really showed that Minnesota may not be as good a team as you would think. Las Vegas, Alex O'Connell is not the greatest quarterback in the world, but he's a good up-and-coming young quarterback. He might show he can be a decent starter in the league. Devontae seems to have a good rapport with him. Same thing with Jacoby Myers. Their defense is still pretty sneaky good because Max Crosby just makes the defense roll. And when he is attacking the quarterback, getting in there and causing havoc, the Raiders have a good chance to win. They've had some good wins this year. They've had some bad losses as well. I think this game is a real toss-up. The big X factor is whether Justin Jefferson plays. I think Justin Jefferson will play, to be honest, and that should bring a new level of intrigue to the Minnesota Vikings offense. See what Josh Dobbs can do with Justin Jefferson combined with Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, and the rest. Still have a good offense, and the Vikings are going to need to win to keep hopes alive for the playoff spot they're in right now. But let's be honest, the Vikings are really looking for Green Bay in a couple weeks. That's the game that they're really looking forward to. But I think Minnesota wins, especially if Justin Jefferson is able to play. But it's going to be relatively close, 24-21. And maybe the Raiders can pull off the upset. I wouldn't kind of pass them. They've been a pretty darn good team since Pierce came on as interim head coach. And I like to see him continuing with that going forward. Seattle and San Francisco. Tomorrow, to be honest, we're going to see a part 2 of 2 weeks ago. San Francisco should win handily. The X factor for Seattle is whether Kenny Walker plays. It sounds like he's going to be able to go, but I've also heard that he may not be able to go as well. Zach Charbonnet is a decent backup, but we saw last week, and he's just not as diverse as Kenny Walker, to be honest. We'll see what happens, but I think San Francisco is going to come out big, just like they did last week with the big win over Philadelphia. Their defense is great. Debo, Brock Purdy connection is real. Debo talked all that trash and really showed up last week. Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, they have great blockers. Christian McCaffrey, of course. This team looks great. Looks nearly unstoppable right now, and they look like the best team in the league, and I don't think Seattle has a chance to win. If they do have a chance to win, it will probably depend on Kenny Walker, but even then, it might not give him that much of a chance. I think the San Francisco wins 30-20. I think Seattle keeps it interesting for a little bit, but I think the overwhelming force of both the defense and the offense for San Francisco should pull them through and should keep them with hopes of getting the number 1 overall seed in the NFC. Buffalo and Kansas City, probably one of the best games of the weekend. Buffalo, I think, will win this game. Kansas City's offense has not been great of late, and their defense hasn't been as well. They've had some injuries on defense that certainly hasn't helped. And Buffalo's coming off a bye, looking to get real revenge after that terrible ending against Philadelphia. They look poised. Josh Allen, let's just be honest, he just throws the interception every game at this point. But other than that, his stats look pretty darn good. He's running the ball more. He's able to get in and out of the pocket. He's able to defy sacks and logic, it seems, at times. He's a great thrower of the ball, of course. And he still has a couple of great options to throw to Dalton Kincaid, Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis when he wants to be able to catch and get down the field. They have options, and their defense, it just all depends on their defense. I'm pretty sure Von Miller's going to play, but I'm sure there's a punishment looming over the head of Von Miller's head, regardless of if his baby mama reneges on her domestic violence charge. Kansas City doesn't look great of late. Pacheco's still a good running back, though. It is in Kansas City, so maybe that gives them the edge. But I think Buffalo wins, gets the upset of the week. Buffalo wins here, gets back into the playoff race, but it's going to be a close game. Hopefully it doesn't have the controversy of last week with the Chiefs losing to the Packers. So come on, Chiefs fans, you were losing that whole game, and for you to complain about that one play being the reason why you lost, shut up, suck it up. Buffalo wins, keeps Kansas City's losing streak going, and Buffalo will be back in the playoff race 27-24, but it's going to be a very close game. And if I'm wrong on Monday, you can let me have it when the Chiefs win. Denver and the Chargers. Chargers looked terrible last week again. Their defense held New England's offense to 0 points, but a lot of defenses should be able to do that. New England is awful. They're just awful. And, they were just awful. And now they're playing Denver, whose offense struggled at times last week, but they got back into the game against Houston. So I think Denver comes out and wins this game, to be honest. Their defense has been playing well for the most part, getting sacks, getting fumbles. That insane multiple fumble streak ended this past week, so maybe they can start a new one. The Chargers offense has been not looking good. Eckler is probably going to be somewhere else next year, to be honest. The Chargers look really right on cue for not giving him a big extension in the offseason. And I think Denver wins 20-17. Should probably be a closer game than most people think, but I think Denver has the horses, no pun intended, good wide receivers. As long as Javonte Williams is able to get the running game going, which I think they should be able to in this game, Denver wins 20-17. But if the LA Chargers win, wouldn't be surprised. Probably need to win out to even have a chance at the playoffs. But to be honest, I think the Chargers are kind of out of the playoffs, to be honest. Wouldn't consider them a serious playoff bid. Philadelphia and Dallas, the other big game of the week. Philadelphia coming off that big loss to San Francisco. Dallas coming off that big win on Thursday night against Seattle. Getting that interception in the end and bringing that momentum forward. It's probably going to be a battle with the wide receivers in this game. CeeDee Lamb has been on a tear this year. A.J. Brown has had a great year as well. Whoever has the best wide receiver in this game probably wins. Tony Ballard has been coming on along as well. Who knows if Philadelphia's running back will be able to go. I'm sorry, the name escapes me all of a sudden. But it's going to be a big, interesting game. Showdown in Dallas on Sunday Night Football. I think Philly wins 30-27. Jalen Hurts should probably be fine after his concussion last week. I'm sure he'll play just fine. Dak, again, it all comes down to these types of games. Can Dak beat Philly? And he's shown that he can in the past. But for the Cowboys, it's all a matter of winning in the playoffs. So even if Dallas wins this game, they're not out of the woods yet. They need to win in the playoffs for people to take them seriously. And I think they'll lose this game, but it'll be close. Huge offensive numbers all night long. Philly wins 30-27. But if Dallas wins, it wouldn't be shocked at all. Tennessee and Miami are our last game of the week. Packer game separate video, of course. Tennessee looked pretty darn good last week in the first half against the Colts. Derrick Henry was running great, as he usually does against the Colts. Will Levis had a decent game for the most part. Their defense, man, they fell apart in the end, and they lost in overtime. Miami looking strong against Washington, of course. Tyreek Hill seems to be unstoppable. Tua seems to be unstoppable as well. And I think Miami's going to win this pretty easily, to be honest. My hope is that Derrick Henry is able to pace the Titans and play. He's questionable right now, but I think he'll be ready to play by Monday night. Fantasy hopes depend on him, of course, but Miami wins 28-20. Miami should lead for pretty much the whole game, but Tennessee should keep it interesting. As long as they can run the ball and keep that offense off the field, they have a chance, but not a very great chance, and I think Miami wins ultimately. Sorry, Tennessee. It's just not your year, but maybe you have a future quarterback at the very least. And that's the video for the week. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thumbs up. Try and help me get to 750 subscribers by the end of the year. Hopefully, maybe even 1,000. That's probably a big goal. It's probably not going to happen, but if you can help, hit that thumbs up button and hit that subscribe button. It's a small click for you, but it means everything for me. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Have a great day. God bless, and go Pack Go.